Hey everyone, so we're going to begin the process of starting to talk about your final assignment, which is your formal speech that you have to present. And so this week we're going to talk a little bit about just the process you go through as far as presenting the speech and then the actual presentation of the speech. And so over the next few weeks I'm going to present you all with a lot of material and content to help you get to where you need to be. So you really need to be sure to watch all the content that I give you this week and in the coming weeks to really prep for that speech. So the first thing that you need to do to prepare for your speech is to choose a good topic. Now, I talk about this in a little bit in the assignment on hooking the audience this week, but I want to talk about that a little bit here. This is one of the main mistakes that I see students make when they're preparing a speech is topic selection, because what they tend to do is they do me orientation instead of we orientation. And what I mean by that is they'll choose a topic that is relevant to them, that they like to talk about, and then they'll not consider the audience in talking about that. And one of the main ones I see with students, and I've seen for the past few years, is sports. I know I have a lot of students who participate in sports, and there have been students who have been on championship basketball teams, championship baseball, softball, whatever, and that's great, and you should be very proud of those accomplishments. But here's the thing, you have to think about your audience. Your audience may not care about basketball. I don't like basketball. My sport's football, okay? And I don't really care anything about basketball. So when I have to listen to somebody go on and on and on about basketball, I just don't care, and I get bored very quickly. I cannot tell you how many of these speeches that I have to listen to and grade that just bore me out of my mind because the student doesn't keep their audience in mind when choosing the topic. So you have to think about your audience and what topic is going to be best for your audience and not you. That's the main thing, is considering your audience, considering what's going to get your audience interested, and going from there. You don't have to be a mind reader, you just have to use common sense. You know people and you know how people are, and so you have to think about your audience when prepping a speech. I have to give a lot of speeches in my line of work, and when I'm prepping for it, the first thing I ask myself is, okay, who's my audience? Why are they here for this event? And what are they expecting to hear? And what do they not want to hear? And then I start prepping my speech from there. So you need to think about that. The other thing that I do want you all to start considering as well is your setup. In watching some of the videos that you all have posted so far, some of you have done a really good job with your setup. Others of you need to work a little bit harder on it. For some of you, it looks like you're holding your phone while you're recording yourself. You need to figure out a way to keep that stationary and keep that to where it's really pointed at your face and not down, not up, or whatever else. You need to really make sure that as we get closer to it that you practice what you are going to say, so you're not relying heavily on notes. Again, with setup, you can get really intricate with it or not, but you need to put some thought into it. I mean, right now I'm using a lapel mic and I'm using a ring light because it's night and it's dark. But I always tell students, if you want really good lighting, sit in front of an open window during the daytime. That gives you all the light you need. You really need to watch the overhead lights. Those are very distracting. You need to watch what's behind you. That can be distracting as well. But just really putting some thought into it and setting up your phone or your camera or whatever else ahead of time to make sure that you look kind of put together and that you've actually put some thought into it, and whatever you have behind you is not that distracting is really going to be helpful. The other thing you need to think about with your speech is organization and how it's going to be laid out and how you're going to move from point to point and how you're going to keep your audience interested from point to point. And another thing that students really fail to do well, and it's not something that's that hard, it just takes time, is practice. Whenever I have to give a presentation, not recorded, but whenever I have to give a live presentation, I always tell people it takes me 10 times of practicing before it gets any good. The last speech I had to give, it ended up being like 5 minutes long, and it was at a college event. I think I practiced that thing at least 20 times before I gave it, before I finally felt comfortable with it. I didn't use any notes at all. Just because I practiced so much, I didn't need to. But you have to understand that you need to practice over and over and over. It's a lot easier in this format because if you mess up, you can start all over again because you're recording yourself and you can do as many takes as you want to. But I still see students so many times not doing a bunch of takes and not doing it over and over and over until it's perfect and it's right. And you need to make sure that you're putting that time into it as well to make sure that it's exactly right. So you need to really dive into the content this week, look at all the videos I'm posting, and then whatever other supplementary materials I give you as well. All of those are designed to help you do your best and give you tips and things to think about to do your best. So let's get started with it, and we'll start prepping, and this speech is going to be absolutely awesome by the time you all give it.